Lisa Salter. There we go. It's Dave, Ted, and Drew joining us for Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw Vikings versus Packers edition. I don't have my Santa hat on. I wanted to have my Santa hat on, but I'm more in a Grinch
Fuck
mode.
the Santa hat. We don't need no Santa hats.
Humbug.
8 first downs. Are you joking me?
How are you doing, Drew?
Oh, that is the worst I've seen the Vikings offense play in a long time. I mean, I want to bring up the Chicago game from last year, but I mean they're flat. They weren't.
They look
where do you
like
start?
the Chicago game from last year.
Where do you start on something when you see something like that after 14 weeks? It's more than just. I mean, there's got to be something to it. And I asked Ted. I'm more concerned with the preparation of the coaching staff. I mean, the execution of the players certainly wasn't there. Do the Vikings game plan a team or not? Because that was horrible. I don't. What do they do?
But
it looks like the same offensive plays every week. I mean, they did.
Well, this week they didn't work, so obviously it wasn't the same.
You seriously got to question the coaching staff at this point. Me, that's what I would do.
It's one game.
That's what I knew you'd say before we started. So go ahead and lay
it's one game.
Go ahead, lay it all on me. Give me all the Zimmer stuff.
If they played that way the whole time, we'd be fighting Cincinnati for the number one pick in the draft.
Teams that are coached well,
10-5. We're still in the playoffs, and it looks like.
Teams that are coached well aren't that fucking inconsistent. That's terrible. That's Rutgers, dude.
Well, some of them are. Hey, even New England loses.
You see, when's the last time you saw New England fucking play a game like that? When's the last time?
They've lost.
That's bullshit. New England hasn't played a fucking game like that in 20 years. Don't give me that shit.
We have Ted Bertrand. Even though the O-line arse is grass and Sedarius was the lawnmower, 84 said it gets better.
You don't want to adjust to Sedarius?
Just won a prison shower on national TV in Lambeau Field in 2 weeks.
Fucking Patriot.
Ted, I'm sorry, but it's probably not going to be Lambeau. It's going to be the Mercedes-Benz Dome down in New Orleans. As of right now, Green Bay has the number 2 seed. They had a bad game. I didn't like it as much as you did, Drew. They were horrible. The defense came out, started to play, but they were on the field the whole freaking time because the offense couldn't do squat. But they didn't play that way the whole game. I mean, the whole season. They played it tonight, Monday night, under the lights. Hey, Ted, how are you?
Yep. So, just an anomaly. No problems. Don't look here.
So we're a 6th seed. We've clinched it. We're not going up. We're not going down.
Look, coaching staff is terrible with us tonight. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm done. I'm done trying to fucking.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's arguably the most important game of the season.
Yeah.
You're playing for a chance to win the division and potentially get a home playoff game, if not a bye.
There we go.
I don't disagree with
you. And you come out, and I could even buy kind of a shaky first half. I could maybe buy it. Trying to figure out what to do. You go into the locker room with a halftime lead, and you come out in the second half, and you not only cut off your penis, you stick it in your ear. I mean, come on, man. That was horrible game planning by the coaching staff. It was horrible execution by the Vikings. It was nobody accounting for Zadarius Smith the entire game. I mean, if there are guys that have great halves of games, and great coaching staffs decide at halftime, even early in the first quarter, okay, this guy's not going to beat us anymore. And whatever happens, the decision is made to not let Smith make another freaking play. Whether it's play action rollout, which the Vikings, I think, only did one play of the entire night, and that was an interception. Whether it's running away from wherever he is on if he lines up to the right of your formation, you run left. If he lines up left of your formation, you run right. You run away from him. And the Vikings didn't do anything to try and make them to try and give the players a situation where they could win the individual battle all night. It's on the players. Kirk Cousins sucked, but the Vikings coaching staff sucked just as much.
And whose job is it to adjust for Zadarius Smith and not let him beat you anymore? Whose job is that?
The Minnesota Vikings coaching staff.
Yes, it is. So
I mean, yeah, you can say you're right, Dave. You are absolutely 100% right. They're 10-5 and they're going to the playoffs. But you know what, brother? They are a 6th seed, and they either have to go to New Orleans or they have to go to Green Bay. And if they win that game, then they got to go to what? The number 2 seed or the number 1 seed? Whatever.
Seed. Yeah. Hey, I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just saying it is what it is. This is the bed they made. This is the bed they are lying in. Blame it on the coaches. Fire them all. Forfeit week 16 and forfeit the freaking wild card game.
You can't play that bad for 4 fucking quarters. I could take a quarter or maybe a half. And that's unacceptable.
They obviously did. I mean, the defense, I thought, played halfway decent.
Well, so did I.
I thought
the offense looked like crap. The play calling sucked. The execution sucked. The O-line, especially on the Reef at the end, played like shit. They got pressured up the middle. Fucking Kirk Cousins stood like a statue on one of the sacks. He was looking at the guy coming at him, and he didn't move. And it's just like, what are you guys trying to do? There was a couple drop balls. The reffing was obviously biased, but it was
not. Don't stop with the reffing.
No.
There were some plays that it was, but it wasn't enough to do anything.
Come on.
Oh, when Diggs goes for a pass, gets mugged on the way, and it sails over his head and it gets picked off, that's not pass interference.
I can still lose this game. Take as many calls as you want away.
I agree. I said you can give those calls and they still lose. But those were things that went wrong.
The Minnesota Vikings got owned at the line of scrimmage. The offensive line got owned all night.
On both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I'd say they had a few breakthroughs. The defense was doing all they could to hang in there, but after the offense was going 3 and out, and 3 and out, and 3 and out, and 3 and out, it's tough for the defense to keep maintaining that. You know, I even mentioned in the group, and halfway through the second quarter, we're going to be tired as shit in the fourth quarter, and sure enough, they ran out of gas.
Yeah, because time of possession was miserable.
They don't seem tough up front. They were getting not just Zadarius Smith. Everybody was owning them up front.
The Vikings had no answer for the Packers' pass rush all evening.
No,
they just didn't, and it affected Kirk Cousins.
And that's obviously Mike Zimmer and not Dennison.
Yeah, he's the head coach.
So let's fire Zimmer. Let's fire all of them and start over again next year. That's what you're suggesting?
I'd like to ask Dave, what responsibility does he think Mike Zimmer has? Can we just get that out front first off? Because every good thing
he has overall, but are you going to take everybody with him?
What is he responsible for?
You obviously want to fire him.
I want him to coach better. I want him to be accountable for his own shit.
I'm not calling for Mike Zimmer's firing, but I think it's fairly. I think it's very fair to ask for a guy for a guy that's been the head coach almost 6 years now, for a team that was on the short list by a lot of people to go to the Super Bowl or to be in serious contention for a Super Bowl
that he helped build.
I think it's very fair to ask the question, how could you play this poorly and look this poorly prepared in week 16 against your arch rival?
It's a great question.
Hanging in the balance. No, stop. It's a very legitimate question, and we are 6 years into the Mike Zimmer regime, and it just seems like every year there are 2 or 3 games where the Vikings look like they don't give two hoots in hell. And it seems to be when it really matters the most. So at what point are you going to say, this is kind of is what it is? And is this good enough?
Okay. And then we get a new coach. And then how long until we win?
I think that.
How long has it been since we won the Super Bowl?
Having discussions about Zimmer with you, Dave, it's really difficult because you like the guy. I don't look at anything. I don't think anything of these guys are all coaches and players to me. I don't have any personal.
And you default that everything's his.
When
something goes wrong, it's Zimmer's fault.
Not at all. We've had discussions in the past, and you've talked about the GM, the players. You never have said Zimmer's responsible for anything, and I know that's because you like him, and that's fine.
I do like Zimmer, but I have called him out this season.
Well.
But when it comes down, the defense wasn't the one that failed tonight. It was the offense. Now, if you want to say, well, he's the head guy. Well, who's the boss above him? You keep doing that.
Unprepared. I'm going to defer to the great Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. If your team is unprepared and come out like they did tonight for an entire game, not just one quarter or half of this, whatever, it's on the head coach. And that's what Herman Edwards says. If you're unprepared, it's on the coach. The players play the game, but he said that. He's a fucking coach. I'm going to defer to the guy who not only played in the NFL, but coached in the NFL. The guy's been a head coach, and that's what he said. That's what he said. That's not me. That's what he said. If you can't, it's so flat, it's beyond even explanation of how they played this game this terribly. I mean, the Vikings aren't this bad as they played tonight. So what is the deal?
The thing that aggravates me about the Mike Zimmer regime, and I think I said this a couple minutes ago, there are 2 or 3 games a year where this team comes out looking as flat as week-old Diet Coke that's been left open in the bottle. I just and it seems to be in really big games, or they start the game flat when it's a big game, or they start a game. They start out well, but then they just kind of start going into coast mode. There's not this consistent level of play with this team, and I don't get it. I just with this much talent, I think with this much talent on this team, and as much as they are paying the offensive players in terms of salary with Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Riley Reif, Josh Klein, the list goes on and on. That was an embarrassing offensive performance. And the fact that they didn't – I thought, okay, first half, shake it off. Because the Vikings have shown that they can kind of go in the locker room, regroup, and sort of come out and figure things out. And had they played well in the second half, the Packers' defense is pretty good. And kind of what I thought was going on. But they actually got worse. It looked like they actually got worse in the second half. And you had 30 minutes of gameplay, and you got worse, man.
Right.
With the division on the line, you got freaking worse.
How does it get worse?
Because Mike Zimmer was calling the plays?
No, because this is where the difference comes in. We have a discussion like this, and then your first reaction is, Drew, Zimmer doesn't make the tackles, Zimmer doesn't throw the passes, and you get defensive and you leave it at that. And that's why I don't discuss it with you anymore, because you don't think he's responsible for it.
Because Drew, the first person you blame is Mike Zimmer.
No.
I'm not blaming Zimmer for the players not executing. I am blaming Mike Zimmer and the staff and the entire Kubiak, Stefanski, everybody on the coaching staff for not having this team ready to go when it was the biggest game of the year and not being able to adjust to what the Packers were doing.
Cannot argue with those points. Those are 100% legitimately perfectly true.
They should have had him ready. Is it because it's prime time under the lights? Is it because they had the extra day? They're out of rhythm?
No, it's because they weren't ready. It's because against the Packers and the Bears in this division, Mike Zimmer feels like he's overmatched.
He does.
He has no answers for Matt Nagy. He's now 0-2 against Matt LaFleur.
The Vikings.
How can that be for a guy that is 6 years a head coach in the NFL, is getting schooled by a rookie head coach and a second-year head coach with a terrible quarterback? Riddle me that, Batman.
I don't know. It's a good question, though. I know one thing. We looked scared and tentative from the outgo on that one. Tonight, the first 3 drives we had, we looked like we were frightened out there offensively. And, you're sludging along, you're muddling along. We had 7 drives in the first half. Did anybody not think on that coaching staff to go, you know what? When we get this punt, we finally stopped them. Let's get this punt. Let's go up-tempo. Let's try something a little different. Let's go up-tempo, maybe know how to. Let's see if that works. We're just doing the same thing over and over and over, and nothing. It's mind-boggling. Try something different. I don't get it. Would it hurt to go no huddle? What? After you have 7 shitty drives? What could it hurt?
I agreed with you when you were yelling it on the stream.
Come on, try something. You can't do the same shit over and over again. I don't. Ted, what you just said is absolutely the question I have in my head. Why?
Man, I don't know.
That team
I wish I had an answer.
You beat the Lions and you beat the Chargers and you walk around with your chest out like you're all that, and then you come out and do this tonight? I mean, is that the bottom line to it all? We just get owned by other teams. I mean, this is for the division in your own house, man. That was owned all the way through it. Owned, bullied, and pushed around. And they're laughing on the sidelines while you're throwing 3-yard checkdowns all night and getting sacked. Absolutely one-sided ass whooping. That was.
It was aggravating. I mean, this whole game was aggravating. There were a couple times I thought the Vikings had it figured out. That after that turnover, I think it was the Ann Harris pick, where Cousins hit Diggs for the touchdown, and then after that big 3rd and I think it was 14 or 15, they converted that first down.
Right.
And then right after that, Cousins threw the pick. I thought they sort of had it going on. And they just didn't, man. I don't think a team can play as fired up and amped up for 60 minutes. A game ebbs and flows. It just does.
Right.
Anybody that played the game, whether or whatever, understands there's going to be peaks and valleys in a game. But to be that flat again in that big of a game again is just, it's mind-boggling to me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And it's a thing with Zimmer and this entire era that frustrates the ever-loving hell out of me.
Have you guys ever seen a team that was +2 in the turnover ratio get pushed around like that?
No.
I haven't. If you're up +2,
the offense getting pushed around by the defense.
I mean, you're up 2 turnovers on the other team. You have 2 extra possessions. It didn't seem like that. That seemed like if I looked at the stats at the end of the game and just watched it, it seems like we're the team that had 7 turnovers and they didn't have any. That's what it felt like.
Imagine where the Vikings would have been had they not had the 3 turnovers in the first half.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's a great question right there. Where would they be?
They'd have gotten run off the field.
mean, like you said, there were moments when you were kind of there baiting us, thinking, all right, we're going to turn it around right here. But for the majority of that game, I looked at the plays in the first half. They had 45 and we had 25. And I'm thinking, out of those 25 plays, I think we had 2 or 3 that were good.
Yeah.
Offensively, we had 3 plays that were good and 22 that were bad, and probably throwing some penalties. Then we get a long touchdown. Penalty brings it back. It just, got that early turnover too. There we go.
I mean, the Vikings averaged, if I'm reading this right, they averaged 2.62 yards per play and had 7 first downs. I would have a hard time believing
7 first downs
the entire game. I would believing anybody has done worse this season.
There was an interesting stat at the end of the game. Those 7 first downs is the lowest total for first downs the Vikings have had at home since 1971.
So why not adjust during the game?
I would assume they were trying to adjust.
But it's not the coaching staff.
Well, I'm assuming the coaching staff were trying to adjust, but they were obviously ineffectual. I disagree that it was 100% Zimmer's fault, because it's the offense that laid the egg tonight, not the defense.
Who's the head coach, Dave?
Hey, who's the GM? Who's the owner? Blame them. You can go up the chain. Patton can be a lousy general if his logistics didn't work. You got to have every piece working. How many games over 500 is Zimmer winning? He's the what? The third winningest.
He's the fucking head coach. He's not the linebacker coach. He's not the secondaries coach. He's the head coach.
I'm not saying Mike Zimmer's
fucking responsible for everything that happens with this team. Responsible, him. And if he can't get it done, he's down the fucking road. They're all players and coaches to me. I don't like one guy more than the next. I don't have any feelings for him or Teddy or anybody else.
But we're upset because we dropped another game.
I'm not doing it.
You want perfection. You want 16-0.
No, I want a team to come out and play halfway ass decent. And if they're not ready, like Herb Edwards says, it's on the head coach. I know you don't want to hear it, and I know you like Zimmer.
Loses like that, you're going to tell me they're not ready, and all teams lose like that.
Dave, I don't want perfection. What I do want is a team to show effort and a chance to win in a big game. I do.
I do too. And tonight it was one side did, one side didn't. And well, they were showing effort. They just weren't executing.
It feels to me. I would have to go. I would have to go down game log by game log. But it feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm old, kind of drunk, a little bit tired, late at night. But it just anecdotally it feels to me that during the Mike Zimmer era, when the Vikings have had an opportunity to stand up and define themselves as a team and move forward and break narratives and destroy myths and whatever it is, whatever the cliche is you want to use, they have failed other than the 2017 season up until the NFC Championship game.
And then they failed.
You go back every other year, every other big moment, every other defining game this team has had, and they get to that point, and instead of getting over the hump, the rock rolls back down on Sisyphus. And I'm just to the point where
that's why there's no argument about talking about Zimmer's wins. You want to beat the fucking Raiders and the Lions and all these shit teams and brag about that? Go right ahead. That's not where the money's made. That's not what you do in this league. In this league, you got to go over the top. You got to win when it counts. All those fucking games that don't matter, fuck those games. You got to win when it counts. And you know what? Belichick wins when it counts. You don't lay stinkers like we had today. No way, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Belichick's the greatest coach in the NFL. Period.
Win when it counts. Win when it counts. Win when it counts. Who cares about the Raiders game. You want to hang your hat on a fucking game against the Raiders?
I mean,
Come on, dude.
All right.
Matt LaFleur's a rookie.
Let's take San Diego.
Matt LaFleur's a rookie. Hang on. Matt LaFleur's a rookie. He's 12-3. Matt Nagy went,
Has he won when it
13-3
counted,
last
though?
year? What?
Has LaFleur won the Super Bowl?
He's only
It's a year-to-year. Has Mike Zimmer?
No,
He's not.
Now
he's not.
No,
dude.
What you're telling?
It's a year-to-year thing. And right now, the Packers are in better position to win a Super Bowl than the Minnesota Vikings are.
Oh,
they
I
are.
agree.
They're going to have They're either going to have a home game or they're going to have a bye. And the Vikings are going to have to go on the road and win 3 games against quality opponents in the NFC. You think they're going to be able to do it?
Do I? There's a chance, but it's little. No, I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to be one and done.
There you go.
No, statistically, there's a chance, but most likely they'll be one and done. There have been 6 seeds that have reached the Super Bowl before, 10 of them. And there's been 4 that have won it. So statistically, it's possible. Do I think the Vikings will do it? No, I think they're going to be one and done. But so
the
what
Vikings
you're talking
are
about,
inconsistent. They got talent on both sides of the ball, but they're way too inconsistent. Inconsistent is
that's
the word.
fine. We'll have Zimmer for 6 seasons. He goes to playoffs 3 seasons. We fire him because he's like, well, who was that? Marty Schottenheimer in San Diego.
He's nothing like Marty Schottenheimer. Don't even know. He's not Marty Schottenheimer. Believe me.
Schottenheimer got to the playoffs many times, but they just got frustrated with him not getting deep into the playoffs. They fired him.
Schottenheimer went to back-to-back AFC championships.
And he didn't win, so they fired him.
I really want to go Schottenheimer against Mike Zimmer.
You want to fire him for the same reason, right? That's what I'm asking.
Let's throw Don Coryell in there, too. Zimmer's better than him also. And Jimmy Johnson. He's way better than him.
Well, Jimmy Johnson won the Super Bowl.
Where's my flag? I got both going tonight.
Anyways.
Look, I'm not. Here's the thing. You know, if you talk about firing Mike Zimmer, then you got to talk about who's going to replace him and all that. And I'm not prepared to do that.
Yeah, I want to look at the Bears game. That's, the offseason will take care of the offseason, but the Vikings need to move forward from this. I'm not happy with the players. I'm not happy with everything all the way around, the coaching staff and the players. The players are out there looking lost altogether, but Zimmer's time will come, and if Dave wants to call him Vince Lombardi, I don't give a fuck.
I don't want to call him Vince Lombardi, but why are you looking at the Bears game?
Because that's our next game. That's really all that matters this year.
Yeah, but we're the 6th seed. They could rest all the starters. We're not going to go up or down, win or lose. We're stuck.
They're tits flicked against the Bears like they did tonight. That's how you want to go into the fucking playoffs?
I'm not saying it's the way I do.
Not how Marty Schottenheimer would do it, let me tell you. But he's a hack.
But I'm just saying the game really means nothing other than to motivational purposes for the players.
I will tell you right now, I think next week is a huge psychological deal for this Vikings team.
I think so too. Especially what happened last year.
Because as Drew so eloquently stated in his searing analysis, they got their tits licked.
They did. You want to get your tits licked by Nagy again?
And the Vikings are 0-3 against the Mitchell Trubisky-led Chicago Bears.
That, and look how we played tonight, guys. You want to follow it up with another bad one? Are you
exactly at home? You want to drop your trousers and lose 2 weeks in a row at home on your own toilet before you go on the road to
you want to sit
Green Bay or New Orleans? Really?
This would be marvelous if they lose this week, next week, and then win the 3 on the road and make it to the Super Bowl. Because I'll have this recorded.
Right. But honest to God, and I think all of us would love to see the Vikings go on this 3-game road warrior streak. And,
yes.
And I'm all of us would. I think because we've been fans for so long and we've seen comedy and tragedy and God knows what else with this franchise over the years, none of us deep down in our hearts believe that's something that's going to happen. We want it to happen We think it can, but when you look at the competition in the NFC and as inconsistent as the Vikings played, dude, that's a tough draw, man.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It would just
I
be
would
sweet
be in agreement with Dave about next week sitting some guys if we had lost this game 30-27 on a last-second field goal. I would actually be thinking maybe that's the best. The way they lost this game and the way it happened and everything,
Oh, it was horrible.
You got to win that game in Chicago next week. Like Ted says, you have to be mentally right. You get beat down again, you're going into the playoffs with 2 beatdowns. You can't have it.
Anyways, we'll wrap this up, but I wanted to give shout out to some of those that have joined us. You guys can't see me put up.
Talk about Schottenheimer some more.
You can't see who's joined us, but we've had Ted Bertrand, Nick Diaz, the Duckbacker, Cali Kid, 619.
What do they have to say?
My nephew, Nicholas Taylor, joined us. He's a Packers fan.
Sure, they all come out.
And excommunicate him from the family.
I didn't.
And some others, and I'm sure there's others watching, but those that have put it in. So
what are they saying? What remarks?
Oh, there's all sorts of remarks. Gene Washington saying in closing that 10-6 is apathy. I'll leave it there. Or 6-10 is apathy, and I'll leave it there. So, Snarl XB writes, he just showed up. Hey, buddy. It's just a bunch of, I've posted it up. You'll see it on a recording. A lot of what we're saying, it's a bad night.
Yeah, it is. And the thing that frustrates me is why? Why are these games consistently bad when it matters the most? I think that's a legitimate question to ask.
That's a great question. I'd like somebody to give me the answer on that.
Does it mean Mike Zimmer needs to be fired? No, it doesn't mean that. But there's something lacking with this team's preparation when it comes to really big games, man. It's beyond me because it's so constant. It's so constant.
Is that team from Wisconsin that much better than us?
No.
No.
What the hell?
We went through all the stats. They're not.
What the hell did I see tonight? What was that, guys?
Failure.
It was terrible is what it was. It was a terrible.
And then it just kept.
It felt like a terrible game plan and a terrible execution of that game plan.
Then switch it around at halftime. Do some adjusting. Do something. Don't just do the same thing the whole game and just like shrug your shoulders. All right, it's almost over. I guess I'll use my timeout now. I mean, come on, do something.
I mean, you're down 13 points and you punt and you call timeout before the punt. I mean, like, really? Really? Like, what?
Who knows?
What was that bullshit? Seriously, what was that?
Anyways,
that's on Spielman. That's the GM's fault. That's if you want to know what happened there.
Say good night to everybody.
What?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Ted?
Yeah. Stock market report's going to be short and sweet whenever I publish it. Yeah.
What do you call the good players? Chippers or something?
Blue chippers.
What's that?
Blue chippers.
None.
No blue chippers tonight.
No.
I don't want to see one on there. I'm filing a grievance.
No. Diggs is going to be a solid investment. That's about as good as it's going to get.
Nobody on defense?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I had Kendricks up there for a while, but
is Kendricks' injury serious? Do you guys know?
Quad. He went out before halftime. He didn't come back, so yeah, probably.
Oh,
probably out for the year. Probably gonna have to amputate his leg.
Mac Alexander had a good game.
Calling Dr. Schottenheimer. That won't be good. We need Kendricks, guys. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the Vikings defense was noticeably worse in the second half without him. A lot of that, I think, can be attributed to them not ever being off the field because the offense could do nothing but go 3 and out.
Yeah, when that guy Jones ran that one long one, it was gassed over. It was over. They can't run. They couldn't pursue it anymore. But
yeah, they were done.
When you're trying your damnedest, and then the offense runs out there for 30 seconds and runs back, man, it's hard to keep your morale up.
Incomplete sack. Incomplete. Punt. That's like Brad Childress offense, man.
Where's the screen passes, man?
Anthony Harris got this pick.
What?
Anthony Harris got that pick. It was nice.
Yeah, that was
Some
cool.
Nice tackles.
That was cool, and the game was still exciting.
Mm-hmm. Anyways,
awesome.
Final words.
Meow meow, Viking cow.
Ted.
Super Bowl homeboy, see you in Miami.
Yeah. Still good to hear.
Goal, everybody. Don't let this loss ruin your week. It is the holidays. Please enjoy them with your family. Merry Christmas.
Hey, look at that. She's dressed like a ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
You're a mean one, Zadarius Smith.